Welcome to Recovery Unleashed, the podcast where we dive deep into transformation, healing, high performance, and recovery. I'm your host, Hannah Dalby. I'm the founder of Recovery Jungle, Recovery Unleashed. I'm an integral alchemist, food coach, a recovery expert, and also a retired professional Muay Thai fighter and current jiu-jitsu lover. In each episode, we explore what it truly takes to break free from addiction, trauma, self-sabotage, and unlocking a life truly filled with energy, success, and peace. Through my very own story of addiction recovery and raw conversations with experts, coaches, athletes, healers, we uncover the tools and mindset shifts needed to master recovery in every area of your life. This isn't just about healing, this is about unleashing your full potential. If you're ready to reclaim your life, tune in, do the work, and let's rise together. Welcome to another episode of Recovery Unleashed. Today, I'm joined by Lindsey Lockett, a trauma educator, nervous system coach, and the host of Holistic Trauma Healing Podcast. Lindsey's work focuses on empowering individuals to understand and heal their nervous systems, moving beyond traditional trauma narratives to embrace holistic well-being. In our conversation, we delve into Lindsey's personal journey, her holistic approach to trauma healing, the connection between nervous system dysregulation and addictive behaviors, and practical tools for nervous system regulation. This episode offers really amazing, valuable insights into self-healing, empowerment, and the path to reclaiming one's own power. I would love to welcome Lindsey Lockett to the podcast. Really interestingly, when I came up with this idea, I think I've mentioned it at some point before, I woke up in the middle of the night about 18 months ago with this idea for this podcast of having to share my story. And I wrote down the first 12 people I had to talk to, and Lindsey was just in the list. So it had to happen. I'm honored. I guess I was following you a lot at the time. My nervous system has had a beating in my life. So I guess that content was really helpful for me. And I guess the story that I'm telling, the nervous system is so important in it. And I'm not even sure if I've got it right yet. So I'm really excited to have you here.
Well, thanks, Hannah. I appreciate it. And I could talk about the nervous system in my sleep. So please ask anything you want to know.
Beautiful. Well, can you first start with what led you to do this work in the first place?
My own dark night of the soul, dude. I mean, man, I could tell you my whole life story, but I think all of it was happening to lead me up to kind of a climax, which was, it started in 2018. We now joke was the year that anything that could go wrong did go wrong. Yeah. And it just felt like life was breaking. I'm telling you, we were having financial issues, car issues, marriage issues, parenting issues, you name it, we were having the issue, and it was all kind of happening. It culminated with me starting to get sick around the end of 2018. I was having a lot of pelvic pain. And what was even worse than the pelvic pain was that around October, November of 2018, I stopped sleeping
completely.
And if I could get 1 to 2 hours a night, I was lucky. Couldn't take a nap either. But I just had such extreme acute level anxiety that my body, my nervous system was so activated that it didn't calm down enough for me to actually be able to go to sleep. And so the longer I went without sleep, the more anxious I got, the pelvic pain got worse, the health anxiety got really bad. It was also deep winter here in northeastern Minnesota, where we get, at that time of year, maximum 7 hours of daylight. So it was dark, and I was both anxious and depressed and felt extremely hopeless and helpless and didn't know how to find my way out, and couldn't imagine myself finding my way out. I felt like I was in so deep at that point that I couldn't imagine finding my way out. And I remember I would lay in bed at night when I wasn't sleeping, and I would either cry or I would scream sometimes because I felt like I had lost myself. I remember feeling lost and I couldn't find myself. And I felt like I was a prisoner in my own head. All of my thoughts were dark, and I started to contemplate suicide. And on March 7th, 2019, I actually did attempt to end my life. Obviously unsuccessful, thankfully, but I checked myself into inpatient psych care, stayed there for 5 days, got on a cocktail of much needed psychiatric drugs, which is a whole other topic. And then whenever I got out, I was like, okay, I've spent the last decade trying to heal myself, because I didn't just have anxiety starting in 2018. I had been seeing naturopaths and functional doctors and whatever for anxiety for years before. So it had, my naturopath was always like, it's your liver. So, but the liver work wasn't working because I was still anxious. Yeah, I had been on like what I call now the hamster wheel of wellness, just trying to heal myself using like healing diets, restrictive diets, tons of supplements, protocols, alternative stuff, homeopathy, essential oils, like different things like that. And I realized after I got out of the hospital that if those things had been what I had needed to be well, I would have been well.
Yeah.
And so it led me to dig deeper. And I started looking originally into brain retraining. That was kind of the path that I started down at first. And I'm really grateful because that's the path that introduced me to the nervous system eventually. So, I learned about like the limbic system and limbic brain retraining first and how the limbic system controls the autonomic nervous system. And I started doing a brain retraining program called DNRS, which stands for Dynamic Neural Retraining System. It was created by a woman named Annie Hopper. Super valuable information, very science-based, like people get really good results from it. But a part of the program is visualizing happy things that have happened to you to create the emotional experience of joy or happiness or peace or something like that, because you're trying to give your body a chance to experience something else besides depression or anxiety or panic. But the program was not effective for me because I did not have a very big bank of memories to tap into in order to do that practice, because I have such complex developmental trauma from my childhood. And so what they would tell you to do is, well, you can just use the same memories over and over again. Well, after a while, you get desensitized to them. And then some people in the forums were saying, just make up memories, like just make up like something happened that you wanted to happen. And like, maybe I'm too autistic or too literal, but like, I could not do that. I was like, I'm lying to myself if I do this. So I gave up on the brain retraining, but it introduced me to the nervous system, and that resonated so much more. So now I know how the brain and the nervous system are connected and how they work together, sending and receiving messages all the time from brain to body and body to brain. But for me, the brain responds better to the body work than the body responds to the brain work.
Yeah.
So that was how I got into this. So I went rabbit holed it head first. I consumed information. I'm a 1-3 emotional projector, which means I'm a researcher by nature. And when I am really interested and passionate about something, you can't stop me. I will go into the bowels of the internet and find the craziest shit. But then I become an expert at it. And then I started to implement it in myself and learn different practices and like learn what nervous system regulation actually was. And then realized that it wasn't just about the nervous system. I also had to bring like consciousness online, and I had to essentially like wake up. I had to wake up from being in this like perpetual sleep of unawareness.
Yeah.
And so I had to start doing, work with my ego and like parts work and different stuff like that. And being able to meet myself with curiosity. And instead of looking at my behaviors and being like, I'm such a piece of shit, I can never change. Instead being like, oh, isn't it interesting that I do that? I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
And then making it make sense in the context of my life experience. So then I wasn't coming at my healing journey like I had all these problems I needed to fix. I was coming at it like, in the context of my life experience, all these different ways that I've adapted to cope in relationships that are dysfunctional and don't work for me, but they worked at one time, like they're not working anymore. And so I have to be curious about why I do them. And when that curiosity leads me to emotional abandonment, emotional neglect, unfair criticism from parents, imposed perfectionism, religious trauma, physical abuse, like when that's where that leads, then I can't really judge myself anymore, because I'm like, right, all these things that I do make total sense for somebody who grew up in that environment. But I'm not in that environment anymore. So for me to continue doing those things doesn't make sense and is actually going to be destructive to my relationships. And so learning to bring consciousness into my relationships and regulation into my relationships, and then beginning to share these concepts with my husband, my friends, my children, and my community, and being like, this is the language I speak now.
Yeah.
And the people in my inner circle can now speak this language almost as fluently as me. And we've brought in conscious communication. We've brought in community and like building emotionally intimate relationships with each other outside of sexual intimacy, and really doing a lot of relational healing work that isn't possible when you're healing by yourself. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
In all of the ways. I really love what you were saying about like it needs to go to the body first, because the last year especially, like I've done so much parts work and, you know, the childhood work and the stories, like I felt like there was this endless like, and then this story, and then that story, and then that story, and then just like putting that down for a second and going, what does that feel like in my body, and can I get that energy out? It's just like solved and gone and it's done. And it's like half the time is needed to get this stuff out. And if like we can just be in our bodies and then let that tell the new story, it's magical.
It really is. You're not wrong. It's very magical. It's more effective than for sure talk therapy and EMDR therapy were for me. So
yeah, I love that. There was actually had an experience over the weekend where there was again, like a really good program, really good process, definitely some benefits. People got amazing things out of it, but it was that let's rewrite the story and find that positive thing. And what was the benefit that you could have got out of that? And some of the things I'm like, hang on a minute, and just felt all of this like stuff come up. And I'm like now processing all of this stuff that come up. And is that actually safe for people to like have all of this stuff brought up without teaching them how to get that energy to move out of their body?
That's a very valid question. And I would say that as a high level coach, I don't think that's advisable.
Yeah.
I know what happens when you open that emotional can of worms and you don't know what to do with it. And like, once you open it, you can't put the lid back on it.
Yeah. And I'm good at it. Like I've struggled and I'm good at it. So what was that? What would happen to that if someone didn't have the skills?
I mean, I have clients, one client in particular right now who's in a huge emotional flashback. So he's even got like professional support and he is struggling.
Yeah.
And it's not because he doesn't have the tools or the right coach, or he hasn't read the right books or like anything like that. It's just, this is part of the process.
Yeah.
And like, you don't just start the healing journey and then it's just up from there. Like you revisit things over and over again, right? It's like a spiral that goes down, right? It's like you go around something, you have a level of awareness about it, you do some work on it, you heal some stuff about it, you go on for a while, and then eventually you come back to it and you do it again. Yeah. And then you wait a while and then you do it again. And every time you're going deeper and deeper and deeper until, eventually you desensitize yourself to the trigger, or you're just not showing up as hypervigilant anymore, or you're not assuming the worst catastrophe is going to happen all the time, or you notice that you feel more peace in your body when you're just walking around doing daily stuff. It's like profound shifts can happen, but I think the magic is really in how this work makes like everyday life easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also really love what you said about doing it relationally, because I've been substance clean for 8 years and 3 years of not like being in my training for 5 hours a day, also running away from all of my stuff, frying my nervous system. And but the last 8 years has been like plant medicine and all of the therapists and all of the psychotherapy and all of the healing and everything I could get my hands on. And 3 months ago, I started a new relationship and I was like, oh, you ain't done shit, bitch.
That doesn't surprise me.
And I mean, it's really cool that I have the support and the therapists and the skills to be able to process it, but really watching how, like, even yesterday, I'm like, oh my God, like, get out of my face. Like, because the stuff that it's bringing up is what really mattered. And I became really good at existing all by myself in the world, but no one could come in because I became really good at existing all by myself in the world. So, I mean, and I hear people say like, oh, well, I'm not, because I used to do this. I'm not ready to be in a relationship yet. I haven't done enough work. I need to get myself good first. And I said that. I spent 5 years on my own, like, no, I've got to get my shit together first. I need to know what I want. I need to get all these things done. And I had done, like, I mean, I became emotionally intelligent enough to articulate what was going on, but I hadn't done the things, and stepping inside of it and realizing how much is there, and then being able to do that inside of that relationship in a safe way. And like,
Yeah.
then what's happened outside of that in how I can operate in the world generally and in my work. And it's like, oh, this was always the work and I didn't need to hide from it.
Yeah. It was always the work, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So you, like, reading all the stuff that you do like a really holistic approach, which I love, because I think that, so I run a recovery center, and we do lots of like people getting fit for their life, or like losing weight for the, last time, or having longevity. And it's like, if we do it in this way where it's like, you get the food right, you get the exercise right, you get the emotional stuff right, you get all of the things right, and then actual change happens. So tell me about like how you bring the pillars into your work.
Yeah. So there are 6 pillars to my work, actually. So what I see that makes us up as whole persons is that we are physical people. Obviously, we have physical bodies, right?
Yeah.
We're also mental people, because we have these like amazing minds that love to think and make meaning out of everything, but also come up with really brilliant ideas and inventions.
Yeah.
We're also very much spiritual creatures, right? Like this meat suit is animated by a source or a force that is eternal, and that when this body dies, that energy transforms into something else and it doesn't disappear. So we're very much spiritual creatures. We also have ancestry, right? Like, we would not exist if it weren't for all the people who came before us. And even though we carry their resiliency, otherwise we wouldn't be here, we also carry in our DNA and in our, like, the imprints of our emotions, like a lot of the shit that they dealt with that got passed on to us without our permission.
100%.
Yeah. We're also emotional creatures, right? Very, very emotional creatures. And we are relational creatures. So my 6 pillars are the body, the mind, the spirit, the ancestry, the emotions, and the relationships. Like, that's what makes us up. And so whenever I'm working with someone, we usually start with like, tell me how you're eating and tell me how you're sleeping.
Beautiful.
Go outside. Do you go outside? Are you drinking tap water? Or are you drinking really good spring water? Are you like prioritizing your sleep? Are you blocking out your blue light? Are you getting your feet on the earth? Like that's the stuff we start with, because like, that's just the base line. Like, I can't help anybody in their nervous system if they're not eating enough or sleeping enough. You know what I mean? Like, that's just an extra stressor that they don't need to be dealing with. So we start at the basic, and then we start weaving in the mind, which for me is the conscious awareness part. So conscious awareness really is kind of like mindset work. So, but it also involves the ability to observe oneself and to be able to notice and ask curiously, like, why is that way? Isn't that interesting that it's that way? I wonder what purpose this serves for me. I wonder what need this meets for me. I wonder why I say that. I wonder why I do that. Isn't it interesting that when Hannah said this thing about technology, I got this lump in my throat all of a sudden, right? That's conscious and somatic awareness. Like, the lump in the throat is somatic awareness. Isn't it interesting? I wonder why I do that is conscious awareness. So we have our body, we have the mindset work. We have I work with a lot of people who come from religious trauma. And so like, they don't want anything to do with religion or Christianity or anything like that, but they very much want to foster their spirituality. They believe that there's a higher power. They might not know what that means for them, but they're interested in exploring things like spirit guides and tarot cards and crystals and meditation and stuff like that. And so I help them kind of like build a spirituality that feels authentic to them and isn't rooted in something that caused them trauma, or isn't rooted in like dogma or legalism or ideology or something like that. And then we have like our ancestry. So ancestral healing is probably the pillar of mine that I would say is my weakest pillar. Like, I understand ancestral healing, but and I research my own ancestry. And like, I believe that I have ancestors who are guides and who are present with me now. And it's very important to me. I have photos of ancestors around my home. I have items from my ancestors. We make altars for them, like stuff like that. But in terms of actually like healing intergenerational patterns, that's something that I'm still very much learning and working on. I know enough to get my clients at least introduced to that.
Yeah.
And then the emotional piece is probably the piece that I'm working with, and the relational pieces. Those are probably the pieces that I'm working with in the most depth, because the emotional piece is the nervous system piece.
Mm-hmm.
So the nervous system governs all of our emotions and emotional responses, and it's our threat detection system. And so when a nervous system is more attuned to danger than it is to safety, then that person is more likely to, be on edge, have sleep difficulties, be in a state of shutdown or depression, or be operating in patterns of perfectionism or hypervigilance or overthinking or whatever. And so we use the conscious awareness, the mental part, to gain awareness and understanding of why the body and the emotions are doing what they're doing. And then we bring the body online to start giving the body some somatically and emotionally corrective experiences. And the most powerful place to have those somatically and emotionally corrective experiences is inside of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's where the relational piece comes in, because without that relationship, just like you were saying earlier, you started dating someone 3 months ago, and all this healing that you've done for 5 years that you probably thought, man, I've done good work. Woo, I know exactly what I'm doing. My life is so good. And then you get in a relationship and you're like, shit, all those triggers that I thought I worked through, I didn't actually work through them. They just didn't get poked because I wasn't in a relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like that is such a perfect practice ground for physical healing, spiritual healing, mental healing and awareness, body healing, and like emotion healing. The relationship is such a powerful container for those things to happen. And I do not believe at all that a person can get to the depth of healing work all by themselves the way that they can inside of a relationship with somebody who is equally meeting them in that work. And that is my big caveat, because a lot of people critique me whenever I say that you need to be in relationships to heal. And they're like, well, what about people who choose to be single? What if the best thing you can do is to just not be in relationships because they're too painful? And I'm like, I validate that you've probably been in many relationships that were actual unsafe relationships. It's probably why you have this trauma. That's extremely valid. But just because your experience with relationships thus far has been that they are unhealthy, not supportive, toxic, dysfunctional, chaotic, whatever, doesn't mean that every relationship for your whole life will be that way. But it means that you have to use your discernment, and you have to put yourself out there, and you have to co-create, meaning the two of you are doing it together, co-create a relational container where things like boundaries can come up, and abandonment triggers happen, and anxious and avoidant attachment styles inevitably show up. Communication issues inevitably show up. And like, that's the real practice and training ground for these like basic life skills that everyone needs. But so many people are like, relationships aren't for me. I'll just be by myself. And it's like, that's fine. That's totally fine if that's how you want to feel. But without that other person to bump up against and really challenge what you think you've healed, then what you think you've healed is probably in your head, and your body is still going to respond the exact same way the minute somebody else is there to bump up against you.
Yeah, I hear you. There's a few things that came up for me there of like, the story I told myself was, well, if I want a man in my life that is going to do the work and is going to meet me at this place, I need to get myself to that place so that I can have someone that is going to do the work. If someone's saying like, oh, well, if they've been in toxic relationship after toxic relationship and it's been, unsafe, how do they make the jump from the unsafe relationships to the safe relationships without doing some work?
Well, they don't. They have to do some work.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is still a place where there's like, there might be a little bit of work that needs to happen so you can call this kind of relationship in.
Sure. I don't discount solo healing at all. I was in a marriage relationship and friendships with people, but from 2019, when I got out of the hospital to like early 2020, for about a year, I would say I was in a pretty intense and beautiful, sometimes I miss it, like solo healing cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I was able to kind of coast along in my work. I had a food blog at the time, so I made some passive income from ads, which was really helpful because then I didn't have to pressure myself to like work, work, work. So I could take time to like read or journal or meditate, or I eventually learned that meditation is not for me. But like, I spent tons of time in the woods. I spent lots of time talking to myself, honestly, just like out loud talking to myself, having conversations with myself when I would walk in the woods. I started learning how to talk to plants and flowers and just discovered that I could talk to them and they could talk back to me. And so I started forming a relationship with the plants around me. And like plant medicine is now a huge part of my life, and not just psychedelic plant medicine, but just like all plant medicine. So I'm so grateful for that healing cocoon time. But at a certain point, you kind of hit a glass ceiling until you bust through that ceiling and you bring all of that solo work and you let it be tested in a relationship, because you're not going to have abandonment triggers come up when you're by yourself. Nobody struggles to be their authentic selves by themselves. Where we struggle to be authentic is in relationships around other people, right? Like when we're standing for something and someone bumps up against that and we perceive them as intimidating or controlling or frustrated or mad at us or something, like that's where we really get tested. Am I going to hold my ground here? Am I going to embody my authentic self, or am I going to shut down and cave? Am I going to people please and just say the thing that they want to hear because it avoids the conflict? Or am I actually going to speak my truth here? Right? When you're by yourself, those opportunities don't arise at all. But those are the places where we experienced the most wounding developmentally. That's where our authenticity got buried over with all of these layers and layers and layers of adaptive patterning. And as we peel the layers of adaptive patterning off, layer by layer, awareness by awareness, integrating it as we go, like we discover more of the authentic self that's always been there. And it's our most natural state in the world to be our authentic selves. But we had to learn how to adapt and put on a people pleaser layer and a layer of perfectionism and a layer of self-doubt and a layer of unworthiness and shame and fawning and, all this stuff. And now we're taking all of that off. Well, guess what? People are going to get pissed when we do that. Because we are killing the person that they find easy to be around.
Yeah.
And we start becoming, and the person that serves them and they can get away with shit, and the person who doesn't force them to have to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the part of relational healing work that I don't think people are talking about enough, but I'm not afraid to talk about it, is that along the way, as you embody your authenticity in relationships, you're gonna lose some people.
Yeah.
And that's normal and it's reasonable and you should expect it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you need to avoid relational and emotional intimacy. It just means that there are going to be some people for whom your authenticity is too much.
Yeah.
There are going to be some people for whom your authenticity really rubs them the wrong way and makes them squirmy and uncomfortable. That it's gonna happen. It's inevitable. And when it happens, that's really valuable information.
Yeah.
Like you being able to notice how someone reacts or responds when you show up as your authentic self is really valuable information. And it tells you, maybe I need to pull back a bit from this person. Maybe they're not quite as safe as I thought they were. Like maybe I don't actually want to be around this person anymore. Like we have to end up making those decisions because like I'm also a witch, and I don't talk about that a lot either, but I am a witch. And if you're going to be a witch or call yourself a witch, you have to be willing to burn at the stake. And you have to be willing to burn for something. And the thing that I am willing to burn for is authenticity. Like, I will burn before I will go back to being that quiet, pleasing, passive, good girl that I used to be, who didn't have a voice and who didn't know what she wanted and who was full of shame. Like, I will burn for that before I'll go back. Well, guess what? That's like drawing a line in the sand. And that's saying, if you want to come be on my side of the line, you can be in my life. And if you don't, I wish you well. No hard feelings. We can go our separate ways. Be whole, be well, be happy. But I'm going to focus on these relationships where all parts of me are welcomed and celebrated.
Yeah. That is really, really powerful.
Thanks.
Like, I will burn at the stake before I will ever go back to not being my authentic self. I mean, I've even witnessed it like in this relationship that I'm in him saying like, wow, I've never been able to be my authentic self before, and the safety that gives him, because I'm like, well, I'm only going to show up as me. So like, you got to only show up as you. And that's all I want. And like the safety and how much we can work through, because it's like, well, this is just who I am. And even though I am so triggered all of the time, it's like, it can be easily worked through, because it's like, it's just us on the table all of the time. And, you know, over the last few, I mean, I've lost people a lot over the last 8 years as I've like found who that is. And I guess like when I talk to other people about doing that, there's this fear of like that gap in between of I'm going to be alone for a little bit, and like how to navigate, well, if they go, then I'm going to be alone. And like, can I trust that the right people will come?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can trust that the right people will come, but you also have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
get out of the house.
Yeah, like I get comments from people on the internet all the time when I talk about community, and they're like, must be nice, not all of us have that. You know, and I'm just like, if you don't have community, it's because you're not trying. Because there are 8 billion people on this planet, chances are really fucking high that one of those people is for you, probably more. But if you don't put yourself in situations where you can meet people and get to know people and practice showing up authentic and vulnerable to whatever level you're comfortable at. I'm not saying you need to be your whole authentic self for everybody. I'm certainly not. Right? Yeah. The way I describe how I embody authenticity is it's like, I'm rarely inauthentic, but I'm not fully authentic around everybody, because I do believe in boundaries. And I believe that there are people who have not earned my authenticity by showing that they are safe, trustworthy people. And so I use my discernment, and I don't have to be my full authentic self for them, because my discernment says they're not going to welcome and celebrate all of you. Like, and that's okay. I'm not lying. I'm not being a fake person. I'm still being authentic, but it's a little bit more guarded because I have discernment, not because I'm like needing to close off and protect myself, but because I have a community of people who are in my inner circle and they get all of me.
Yeah.
You know, they get the crazy, they get the messy, they get the silly, they get the funny, they get the serious, they get the premenstrual version. They get all of me. Right. And they're the people who say, you're not too much. You're not too much. Like, you're not too much. I have a friend who texts me, and she'll text me and be like, hey, can you host the circle at your house this month? Are you free for that? And then she'll say, P.S. you're not too much. I love you. And like, she knows that I have this big too much thing. And so when she texts me random things, she's just like, oh, by the way, you're not too much. You know, and like, I just appreciate that so much. But do you know the level of vulnerability that it took for her to even know that about me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, for you to be able to express that that's how you feel sometimes, and you're really scared to separate. Yeah.
Yeah. Hannah, I'll do you one better. So back in November, I looked at my astrology about this and everything, because there was some intense shit happening in my life, and it was all revolving around relationships. Like, at one time, like 4 different relationships in my life felt like I was being tested in some way. And it was all revolving around my authenticity. And it was like, these relationships are being tested right now. Can I show up and be my authentic self? And is that still okay? And in all but one of them, the answer was yes. And in the one that the answer was no, that person has been removed from my life because he violated some massive, massive, massive boundaries. And I was like, this is the last time you're doing this, dude.
Yeah.
We're done. Like, I've given you chances. We've tried to work this out. It's not working. I'm just done.
Yeah.
But going through that was a very hard time for me. And I was in a circle of women, and one of the women who I was going through the relationship test was in the circle, but we had already worked it out. We had already repaired and had a beautiful conversation, and we cried together and we shared some intimate feelings, and it was beautiful. So she was there. And then two of my other friends, we were sitting in this circle. We were in my living room. I was going through these relationship tests, and they were all around me being too much. And I actually had a friend who literally said, you're just too much sometimes. You're just too intense. And I was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, now I'm not imagining it. It's actually happening that someone's telling me I'm too much, right? This is not a projection. This is real. So it was really hard for me. And so in the circle, I was sitting around and we were having a sharing time. And I told these women, I said, I'm going through these situations and these relationships right now where I'm being told or I'm perceiving that I'm too much. And I cried and I said, I know I'm a lot. I know I can be intense. I know I'm a big personality. I know all of that. I know that that can make you uncomfortable sometimes. But all I've ever heard from my whole life is how my too muchness is negative and why it's wrong and why I need to tone it down. But if it feels authentic for any of you, could you go around the circle and tell me something about my too muchness that you love?
Wow.
And my friend who sends me the text when she says, P.S., you're not too much, she's part of that circle. And so like, it took so much courage for me to even say that, because I had this voice that was like, you're too much. This is shameful that you're even asking for this. You're too needy.
To really ask
you're just
what
fishing.
you need.
You're fishing for compliments. Like you're doing all of that. And like, but it was beautiful. And they all went around. And I realized from that circle, when they told me the things about my too muchness that they fucking love, I realized that yes, I am an intense person. And for all the way, I'm an autistic person. Autistic people can be really intense. Like we can have really big emotions and really big reactions. And when we're not masked, we can be even more intense, right?
Yep.
And so I realized for myself that yes, I am intense. I am a lot. I know I'm a lot. I'm a big person. I'm a big personality. But for all the ways that my intensity is perceived as negative, I also intensely fucking love my people, and I intensely show up for them, and I intensely care for them, and I intensely care for their children, and I would do anything for them. I am a ride or die. I'm the person you call if you need to bury a body. Like I am intense with my friends, and they don't get that level of intensity without the intensity that is sometimes uncomfortable.
That is the coolest story I've heard for a while. To share, sometimes I feel like I'm too much is one thing. To go, can you please tell me the reasons why my too muchness is amazing sometimes? That is another level of courage. Well fucking done to that. That is
I'm all about Good. Take it, please. Yeah. But I think it speaks to like that's the level of authenticity and vulnerability I'm committed to.
Yeah.
But I'm not committed to that level of authenticity and vulnerability with everybody.
Yeah.
Right? I have my people, and that's my safety net. Those people are my safety net. So when the internet comes at me, or when my fucking mom comes at me, or when something else comes at me and they're like critical and you're too much and you're too intense and whatever else, I'm like, bitch, I don't care, because I have this circle of people and they know that I'm too much and they love it.
Yeah.
You know?
I had a client, she's a friend, and she was a client. She spent 3 months. She was from the US. She came to Australia for 3 months, and she has found her authenticity so much, and she went home and then panicked because she couldn't share it with anyone. And I love what you said before, because she was like, oh, well, you know, they might think I'm too much. They might be shocked by it. They, you know, she's really embodied so much of this beautiful, sexy goddess, and like to share it with the people in her intentional community and, you know, whatever's going on there. But that reframe that you said of, I'm not going to like not share it with them because it's too much and I better hide myself, but they haven't earned it yet.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't need to be a bad thing that you're not sharing fully your authenticity. They just haven't earned it. It's not that there's anything wrong with you.
Right.
That's a huge reframe. I love that so much.
Yeah, there was never anything wrong with me.
Yeah, of course, right? But I witnessed that a lot.
Never anything wrong with me.
Yeah.
But that goes back to your question that you asked earlier about like people afraid to be in safe relationships because they have all these bad experiences with relationships. So it's kind of conditioned them to be like, relationships are scary. Relationships are not safe. I don't want that. Too much pain happens there. Right.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense why people feel this way. But again, just because your experience of relationships thus far has been unsafe does not mean all relational experiences are unsafe. And you deserve finding your people and putting yourself in spaces where you are going to meet people and you will be exactly right for those people.
Yeah.
And so you won't need those same adaptations that you needed with unsafe people because they don't make any sense in the context of a safe relationship.
Yeah.
And like a safe relationship, by the way, is not a perfect relationship. It's not a conflict-free relationship. It's not a relationship that's always fun and always comfortable. That's not what safe means, right? Safe does not mean that.
Yeah.
So we can elaborate on that if you need to, or we can go somewhere else, but I'll pause.
Yeah, well, I think you're 100% right. Like, for me, the safety comes when I can say the hard things, when I can speak my hard truths that might make people uncomfortable, when I can go, hey, this is like, the autistic thing is a thing, like it's inside a relationship because you are triggered by weird things. So like it's strange things, and to be able to go through those uncomfortable conversations and also have people go like, oh, well, you're showing up in strange ways I've never experienced before. What's this about? And to be able to go, okay, well, yeah, like I'm making you uncomfortable in some way. And let's unpack that and why I behave like that. So I don't think any of it is comfortable and argument free or any of those things. It's just really, really safe to say everything and to be everything and to work through all of those things.
Yeah.
And I have found actually lets the nervous system go, oh, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. The nervous system doesn't need a totally calm, peaceful relationship all the time to feel good in a relationship. That's not what the nervous system needs. That's why I don't teach regulating tools anymore, because people think that that regulation equals I'm always calm, I'm always in this like Zen state all the time. And like, that's not real. I do believe that there are a very few beings on this planet right now who are called to live a single, celibate, Zen, meditating, silent monk life in the Himalayas in Tibet. I do believe that there are a small number of souls, and that's what they're called to do in this lifetime. But the majority of us are not called to that. The majority of us are going to have the earth experience with the pain. We're not going to have the Zen all the time. We're going to have relational struggles. We're going to have financial struggles. We're going to have health struggles. Like we're going to have those experiences. And we need to be resourced within ourselves to go through those experiences. And so a resourced nervous system, it doesn't mean an always calm, always regulated, always happy, always safe nervous system. Like we need our nervous system to be able to fluctuate. We have a fight response for a reason. We have a shutdown response for a reason. We don't never want to use those responses, not only because that's not real, but because when you find yourself confronting a bear in the woods, you need to be able to fight back or run away. So if your definition of regulation is, I'm going to get to this magical place where everything is suddenly calm, please let that go because it's not real. But the nervous system also doesn't need a perfect relationship or a conflict-free relationship to feel safe. What the nervous system needs to feel safe is to go through the hard, scary thing and come out on the other side with a successful repair where you've been honored and both people have been loved and respected. And then that disproves all those other experiences in your life where you were dishonored and disrespected and abused and used and abandoned and cast aside. That's what the nervous system needs.
Yeah, I love that. I was listening to, I was having a conversation actually yesterday. Someone was telling me about this program that people were doing where they were getting people to enlightenment, and then people would get sick and die because they'd reached such a high level of enlightenment that they'd forgotten to be in their body at all and didn't realize they were in pain or sick or anything was going on.
Oh my God, that's such bullshit.
But you watch, so like this in the spiritual community, it's like, let's all meet God as much as possible. In the plant medicine community as well, right? It's like, let's meet God, let's go up there, let's let play up here. And it's like, well, did we come to Earth to play up there, or do we come to Earth to play in our bodies and have these human experiences? And so it's actually like, right.
Yeah, that's just spiritual bypassing. That's all it is.
Yeah. And it happens so much. Okay, so you said something about not using regulation tools anymore. And I actually had a point written down to talk about, because when talking about addiction, right? Like my belief of addiction is that it's just, it's all the same thing, whether it's substance or work or doom scrolling or whatever it is, it's the same core issue. It's we're like not connected to ourselves and we're not connected to others. And so, you know, when you become dysregulated, like you've got choices, right? You can turn on the Netflix, you can eat some sugar, you can have some cocaine or doom scroll or do the, you know, addictive thing. And then you can also make other choices. And like, so for me, some of those other choices might be dancing or getting into the cryotherapy, but like, correct me if I'm wrong, the regulation tools you kind of want to not do anymore. Is there something in that?
So I'm not saying that nervous system tools don't have their place.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to know how to soothe themselves. And so having some tools in your back pocket to be able to do that actually work, because the goal really is to get you back in your body. Yeah. So whether you do that through shaking or dance or breath or tapping or whatever, like the goal is to get you back in your body. So I'm not saying never use tools.
Yeah.
But when I was a brand new baby nervous system coach, I taught a lot of nervous system tools. And then I used a lot of nervous system tools myself. And then I found myself and my clients using tools to get rid of feelings. So in the same way that you would use the cocaine or take the drink or smoke the weed or doom scroll or eat or whatever, now they're like, oh, but I'm doing so much better because I replaced my drinking with all this breath work. And it's like,
the healing can become the drug.
That's right. It's like on the surface, that is probably a better choice for your body health-wise, right? Like not drinking and doing breath work instead is probably the healthier choice. But if the breath work is accomplishing the same thing that the alcohol did, then we're have a problem because we're still in avoidance.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't care what you're using to avoid, whether it's meditation or cocaine. If you're avoiding your fucking feelings instead of feeling your fucking feelings, you're not healing.
Yeah. Yes. Boom to that. Well, it is so true. I mean, so I started my recovery center about 3.5, well, maybe 4 years ago now. And so I have cryotherapy, compression therapy, and infrared sauna when I first started. That's what it started with. And I was a professional athlete at the time, and I was getting in the cryotherapy twice a day. And I was like, telling this story of you never need a rest again. You can just get in the cold all the time and you're going to be fine. Because I was like full of dopamine, full of endorphins, full of adrenaline, kept getting the reset didn't have to feel a single thing. And I nearly shut down the entire business when I gave up. An ayahuasca journey was like, you're done with the fighting, like put it down. So I put it down without knowing what was about to happen and had to go and feel like that was the actual end of the like addictive behaviors, because I was like, now I have to be still because my entire body has shut down. I have no systems left that are working. And inside of that next year, as I got really still, I was like, oh, I have been a part of the problem and I can't run this business anymore unless I teach people that they actually have to slow down and have time off and feel their things. And now it's evolved into this beautiful thing where most of the work is actually emotional alchemy work. And we use these as like side tools. And how, it's not even just the cryotherapy can be, a total addictive behavior. And so can going to the ceremony every weekend. And so can seeing your therapist every time you're dysregulated. And so can going for the run. I mean, I used to run every time I felt anything I didn't like. And so it looked amazing on the outside. My Instagram looked amazing. It looked like I was a pillar of health. And I was so fucked up.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So how then, like, if we're looking at the world from everyone's like pretty much we've got a culture of addiction because of avoidance.
Yeah.
How do we change that culture by doing this work?
For me, like literally everything starts with awareness. Like it has to start with conscious awareness and curiosity. So if someone listening is someone who picks up a bottle or something every time you have a bad day, or that's the only way you know how to unwind, or like whatever, then without judging yourself and being like, man, I'm such a piece of shit alcoholic, like, no, that's not going to do anything for you. But instead, just curiously notice what you're doing and ask about it. You just ask yourself, this is interesting. I wonder why this is the only way I know how to unwind. Isn't that interesting? Right. And now you've taken yourself out of a space of judgment and self-shaming, and you've put yourself in a space of curiosity. When you're in a space of curiosity, the answers actually have space to come in. Curiosity is a very open, expansive energy, right? Judgment is a very closed, contracted energy. So if you're like, oh, why do I drink? Man, I don't understand why I do it. And I'm such a bad person. I'm just like my dad. I'm just an alcoholic. I'm never going to get better. I fucked up my life. Like, I was asking questions in there, but I wasn't in any kind of energy to receive the answers to my questions.
Yeah.
Why do I drink? Right. I'm not in an energy to receive that. I mean, even my posture, I'm changing it as I'm doing it. And I'm like this. Right. But when I change my posture and I open and I'm like, I notice that I really do drink a lot when I don't feel good. I wonder why that is. Now there's space for that awareness to come in.
Yeah.
Because I'm not judging myself. I'm not making myself bad.
Yeah.
I'm just being like, oh, there's this thing I do. Isn't that curious?
Yeah.
And I'm in this open space. So I think for whatever people's coping mechanisms are, even if healing is your coping mechanism, be curious about it. Notice that you're doing it, right? Like you have a part of you who is not your body and is not your mind, who can watch and observe everything that you do. That part of you is your consciousness, or your higher self, or your whatever you like to call that part of you.
Yeah.
It can notice and observe everything that you're doing. And it also doesn't have an attachment to anything you're doing. Consciousness doesn't have an attachment to anything. Consciousness is not like you're bad because you drink and you would be good if you didn't drink. Consciousness is like, oh, you drink. I drink because it feels better. I drink because it helps me sleep. I drink because it helps me unwind, whatever it is. But consciousness is neutral. It's not attached. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. This is what's happening. Right. And then when we bring curiosity into that consciousness, it can be, okay, this is what's happening. Isn't that interesting? I wonder why.
Yeah.
And now we create space for, well, I probably do need some different coping tools, or I probably do need to read this book on complex PTSD that my friend keeps recommending to me, or I probably do need to listen to this podcast, or like whatever the option is, it can take you to a space where you can start getting some help and some healing and support for that, instead of circling the drain in your coping mechanism and in your addiction, never doing anything about it because you feel shame about it.
Yeah. I think the shame and the judgment is the spiral. Like
it is.
Yeah. Like in that curiosity though, sometimes I find that why you're doing it is meeting a need that isn't actually necessarily bad, that you need healing for or something for. It's like, I'm doing this coping mechanism because I have a deep need for some kind of connection or belonging that I'm not getting somewhere else. Or I have a need that's like, I really need to express my love of violence, or I need to, like, what it's like, there's just needs that are being met. And to take the shame away from those needs and go, yeah, that's something that I need and that I desire, and that needs to be a part of my life. And for that to be okay too. It doesn't always need to be this, well, because of my childhood trauma.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes being angry and like hitting a tree with a baseball bat just feels really good, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be based in your childhood. It can be like, I'm pissed off right now, and instead of yelling at my children, I'm going to go to my room and I'm going to like slam the pillow against the bed and growl for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we learn new ways of processing. And really, when you do that, like when you get pissed and you choose not to yell at your child, but instead to go to your bedroom, shut the door, and like scream into a pillow and hit the pillow a bunch of times, like you're actually being present with what you're feeling and letting the energy of that move through you, rather than what most people do with anger is they bottle it all up. Right? Because we have this judgment about anger that, oh, if you're a woman and you're angry, you're a bitch, or if you're angry, you're abusive, or you yell at people, or that's not appropriate, or whatever. We have all this fucking judgment. I mean, women's relationships with anger is fucked. Men's too, but women's especially, because there's so much suppression and repression of it.
Yeah.
And so like when you choose not to do the familiar thing of yelling at someone because you're pissed, but you instead go take care of your own self and be present with that feeling until it naturally fizzles out, and it does, it always does, then not only are you being present, which is very honoring of yourself, because you're not bypassing and skipping over it and being like, oh, I'll get back to that later. Not only are you being present, which is a gift and a skill, but you're also not holding on to an emotion by suppressing it that then clogs up your nervous system that you're just going to have to deal with later. You know, so you actually relieve some of the burden from the nervous system. And that's like one more thing it doesn't have to carry.
Yeah. Yes. I think there's like you don't need to attack people. Like no matter what emotion's coming up, as long as you're not attacking the people around you, you can have the feelings, have the emotions, have the noises, have the whatever, as long as it's not directed at the people around you. People generally feel pretty safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Okay. So if we were to take this and it wasn't from like, I'm stuck and I can't get out of my bed, but to someone that's doing quite well already, and then using this work to become an even higher performer or do even better, because I have a belief that we can actually have it all. Like we can have our health, and we can have fitness, and we can have amazing relationships, and we can make crap loads of money and fulfill the purpose in our life. And we can have all of it. And we've been told this story of, well, you can have it all, but it just has to be one thing at a time. And so you pick your career or your family or your health, and there's that kind of subconscious thing that goes on, when we really can have all of it, and it can be amazing. We don't need to be grinding and hustling and doing all of that stuff. So how does this work help that?
Because I think this work creates the space for all of that.
Yeah.
Like, I think this, like, I don't know, maybe I need to do a better job on social media or something of like describing how this work genuinely does energetically change you, and change you at a cellular level too.
Yeah.
So like when I feel through a trigger and I get to the other side of that trigger and I handled it differently and I didn't react, not only have I built trust within myself, but I've built trust in that relationship, whatever relationship that's showing up in. And then that only echoes and ripples out into other aspects of life, because the more healthy I am emotionally, the more space I have for creativity. The more creative I am, the wealthier I can be. Like, you see what I mean? So like it creates space for that stuff to come in, because trauma and unhealed trauma is a very contracted, small state. Body, right? My body is doing this very contracted movement. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm talking about contraction, and this is what my body wants to do. And then when I start talking about expansion, my body wants to like open up and stretch out and get big, right? Trauma is a contracted state. Unhealed trauma is a contracted state. So the more you heal, the more you offload, the more expansion you create. Well, guess what? When there's expansion, now there's room. Now I can have the relationship. Now I can have the business. Now I can have the money. Now I can have the dreams. Like now I can have these things because I don't have all this shit closing me off and weighing me down.
Yeah.
I think this work is everything to that.
Yeah. What about to the like business owners that are like, I'm going to get up at 5 and I'm not going to stop till 10 o'clock because I just have to because there's shit to do.
Oh, bullshit.
Yeah. What do you think is happening in their system?
A dysregulated chronic fight flight state in their nervous system that they think is hard work and hustling.
Yeah.
That's what I did when I was on the hamster wheel of wellness. Like when I was like eating one like perfect keto paleo diet and I was like taking $400 worth of supplements every month. And like I was using all natural everything, like all natural cleaning products and all natural this. And all my clothes were made from organic cotton and linen and wool. And like everything was clean, right? No candles, no air fresheners, no chemicals in the house. Like everything was clean. Like, do you know what that is? Like we would celebrate that as like the picture of health and wellness, right? That is not the picture of health and wellness. That is fucking perfectionism and rigidity.
Yeah.
So the nervous system state that I was already in, which was perfectionistic, rigid, overachieving, overthinking, anxious, panicked, uptight all the time, like that nervous system state created that healing journey. And so I still was showing up, eating all the right food and taking all the right supplements and getting all the chemicals out of my house. But I still was in the energy of perfectionism and dysregulation and rigidity. So no, that's why I said I got out of the psych hospital and realized if all that shit had been what I needed to be well, I would have been well. Right. But you can't heal even if you're doing 100% of the right things. If you're doing it from a nervous system state of trauma response, like maybe you're doing the right things, but you're never giving your body a chance to actually receive that deep nourishment or receive that, whatever that is that you're doing well, that beautiful exercise or whatever, because you're approaching it with a nervous system state of activation and not a nervous system state of safety.
I hear you so much in that. I don't even know if I'm all the way through. I'm going to tell you a story. So coming out of being a athlete, and I had to like put on 30 kilos to get my cycle to come back. And then I had to find a way to get it off again in a way that wasn't dieting, and ended up finding a beautiful system doing cycling with keto and moving like anti-inflammatory foods and all of those things. And it worked so incredibly well. I was like, it all came off. I felt amazing. I had all this energy. And then there was a moment where that rigidity, because I'm so good at perfectionism and rigidity, that's how I've operated all of my life, that it was like, oh my God, I ate the thing. And now it's like, and my body would respond instantly. Like you ate the thing and now you're definitely going to have gut issues and all of this stuff is going to happen because my system was like, you screwed up. And to like, yes, I definitely want to eat grass-fed meat. And yes, I definitely want to eat organic food. And yes, I definitely want to do this. That's really good for my hormones. But like on this particular day, I'm going to eat the block of chocolate because that's what I need to do today. And that's cool. And then when that actually became okay, which I'm not even sure is there all the time right now. It's like sometimes I'm like fully on it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I fucked up. And I notice it straight away. So it's like, that when can I get to that place of just like, you're going to make pretty good decisions. You have the knowledge. Who gives a shit otherwise?
Just embody that now and poof, you're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like trust yourself now and you're there. Like that's literally it. You're not trying to get to some magical place in the future where all of these things are okay. You make them okay now.
Yeah.
You eat the block of chocolate, and when the voice of the inner critic says, you're not supposed to do that, it's bad for you, sugar's bad for you, you say, fuck off, right? Like you just say like, nope, I'm not into the rigidity and perfectionism anymore. Thank you very much. This bar of chocolate is not going to kill me and it's not going to make me lose weight, right? Like you catch it and you stop it. So you embody a person who is okay with the choices she makes, and has confidence in herself and trusts herself that she is doing a good enough job of taking care of herself. Notice that I did not say a perfect job. If I am doing a good enough job of taking care of myself, then the inner critic can fuck right off. And like, so then you're embodying it already. If you think, Hannah, that you're going to get to a magical place where you're going to eat the bar of chocolate and the inner critic voice isn't going to get there, and then that's how you're going to know you're healed. You embody it now. You let the inner critic voice be there and you say, thank you very much for trying to keep me safe. Kindly fuck off.
I love that.
And now you're embodying it.
That should always be a poster on the wall. Thank you very much for trying to keep me safe. You can kindly fuck off.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. You don't need that voice to try to protect you anymore.
Yeah.
What you were saying about how like that when you would go into eating a food because you were in such a rigid perfectionistic place that you're like, oh, if I eat this, it's going to give me gut issues. I bet you got gut issues didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is literally like, if you have an expectation that something is going to be a certain way because you're in a survival place about it, it probably is going to be that way. So now you've just created a self-fulfilling prophecy whereby you, in your own story, with your own voice in your head, of your own free will, actually, you have created a scenario in which you will have gut issues, are guaranteed to have gut issues because you decided that a non-threatening thing was actually a threat.
Yeah.
Like people do this to themselves, but they think they're victims. They victimize themselves because they are creating a scenario in which whatever they fear happens because they are making something that is non-threatening out to be a threat.
Do you think that's actually most allergies?
I'm not sure because I have allergies and I have done a lot of talking with ChatGPT lately about that, because if I think about what are allergies, I have allergies. So allergies are my body is perceiving non-threatening things as threats and then mounting a disproportionate and inappropriate response to a perceived threat, right? That's what an allergy is.
Yeah.
Like birch pollen is not actually dangerous.
Yeah.
But for some reason, my body detects birch pollen and is like, emergency, and it creates this massive threat response in my immune system in the form of like itching ears, itchy throat, asthma, stuff like that. Guess what, Hannah? I'm the same fucking way emotionally. For my whole life, I have perceived non-threatening things as threatening and then mounted an inappropriate, disproportional emotional response to something that wasn't actually threatening. So do I think allergies are part of it? Yes. But I haven't found the answer for getting rid of the allergies. So even though I have way less disproportionate responses.
Yeah.
I still have the allergies.
I have seen allergies disappear when the work has been done in that emotional thing where you find the moment where that allergy first appeared, and like in a moment where you've found, or that person has found that disproportionate response, there happened to have been birch pollen, or they happen to have been given a piece of gluten that day. And so from that point forward, their body associated that fear response or that nervous system response with that other thing that was there, because they didn't want to put the blame onto the human being that was actually causing it, because they needed that person to be perfect.
Yeah, that makes sense. My allergies started after we moved to Minnesota. So we moved to Minnesota 10 years ago. And within a year, I was having a lot of allergies. At the time, we chalked it up to, I'm originally from Texas, so I'm 1,200 miles north of where I grew up. So the flora and fauna and geography and topography and plant life, everything is different here. So it's like stuff my body had never been exposed to before.
Like change.
It was a big change. But the more I've gone back and I've kind of looked at it, the more I'm like, I wasn't in touch with my body at that time. I wasn't feeling my feelings at that time. The word nervous system wasn't in my vocabulary 10 years ago. So my theory, or what I think, is that moving from Minnesota to Texas probably created almost like a shock to my system, emotionally and physically, because it was such a drastic change. So that it was a shock to my system and something really new and unfamiliar to get used to. And I also think that there was a lot of grief that I probably didn't realize was there, because that's when I started having problems with my lungs.
Yeah.
And in Chinese medicine, lungs
is grief
are associated. Yeah. So I still think that there is, maybe not specifically about moving here. I can think of other things that I have some unresolved grief about. I was interviewing someone today who's in the preconception birth doula world. And I was telling her part of my birth story, and I still get emotional about it, because only recently have I realized there's still a lot of unprocessed grief there around my daughter's birth, which was almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
But this is the nature of this work, and why I talked about the spiral earlier, is because it's like when I was up here at this top part of my spiral, I probably wasn't ready for this deep grief work around her birth.
Yeah.
But I've done enough work now that I do believe that when we start feeling safer in our bodies start showing us things that are ready to be addressed, because our body trusts us to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
And our body does such a good job of holding on to things for us until a time when we're ready to face it. And so I don't think I would have been ready to face the trauma from my daughter's birth 4 years ago, 2 years ago, definitely not 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's like my body has held on to it until I'm ready to process it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably true with our move to Minnesota, and probably a lot of other things in my life. But honestly, I am still working out why do I still have allergies whenever I am so much more in tune with my emotions, and I don't have as many disproportional emotional responses anymore. And then at the same time, Hannah, I'll be really honest, I take a prescription antihistamine every day, and I'm not trying to heal my allergies.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm okay with taking the prescription antihistamine. I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It creates more stress for me to think about going down another rabbit hole to try to fix it.
Well, I like that point as well, because I think that you can get trapped in always doing this work. And at some point, we've just got to do our life.
At some point, it has to be good enough.
Yeah. And it will come and hit you in the face anyway. You don't need to go digging.
Yeah, I fully trust that if there's ever a time that I really need to address the allergies, they're going to get out of control, and I'm not going to have a choice.
Yeah. All right. So I have another personal question for you, because this was a full nervous system thing that happened to me in November. So I've been doing martial arts for 14 years. I was a professional Muay Thai fighter. I started jiu-jitsu maybe 2 years ago now. And just before I was about to go into ceremony, I was doing aerial yoga and stretching my hamstring, and I just started bawling my eyes out. And the story that my body was telling me was, you have to give up jiu-jitsu. And I was like, no, not again. I don't want to do this. This is not fair. I love this thing. And I was in ceremony a few days later. So I got to unpack it, and it was like, your nervous system has just really had enough. You just need to have a break. And I'm like, I'm going to Thailand in 6 weeks for jiu-jitsu, and I haven't been back. So I'm like, I have, I'm going to go to Thailand. I'm going to do this thing. But what do you think that is in your nervous system can't do this anymore, and you need to have a break from it?
It's actually two things that first came up for me. The first thing that I was going to say was that sometimes certain forms of exercise can be a no for the nervous system, depending on its capacity and resiliency at that time. Mm-hmm. But then also, if you're coming out of patterns of rigidity, hustling, I don't know, Hannah, does it resonate if I say that your body is asking for more feminine embodiment?
Yeah. And I think those first two things that you said were really true as well, because I was trying to talk to my body about it a couple of days ago, and it was go back, but you don't need to go and be perfect. You don't need to be the champion of the world. You don't need to people please the coaches and make sure you're there at all of the classes. Just do what's good for you. And like, can I get my system to allow that? Because I've always been the perfect student and the perfect fighter and the perfect athlete and go to everything I possibly can, and to teach my system that just go when it's good for you and that's it. Like, it's for you. It's not for anyone else, and you don't need to prove anything to anyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. What about like maybe your body's asking for like something that's more gentle, or maybe it's asking for more like fun or pleasure, or like maybe it wants something slower. Maybe that's the direction your body's taking you. That's certainly the direction my body's taken me. Like, the older I get, the more healing I do. Not only do I become more autistic, but I become like much more embodied and grounded in a feminine energy that is very, very uninterested in like being the best anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very uninterested in the hustle and in the grind, the waking up at 5 a.m., the going to bed at 10 p.m. Like, I'm very, very uninterested in that. So I'm in a much more feminine embodiment at this point in my life. And that is part of my authenticity. So I'm curious if maybe the same is happening for you.
Well, it's interesting that it happened while I was at aerial yoga. I have trained to teach it. And the other vision, the other like thing that I saw in my mind was like playing on the big hammocks, the big aerials. And I was like, yeah, so you might be right, but there's almost like an identity thing that's like, and when I think about like going to like, oh, like I nearly rocked up to a competition 2 weeks ago without having trained, and my system was like lit up, like, oh, you're going to do it, and you're going to fight, and you're going to win, it's going to be amazing. I was so lit up, and I was like, why would I quit? I love this so much. I also haven't given my system a chance to do anything else. I've just, gone to the gym and lifted and done running and stayed away from other things, because it's almost like the betrayal to it.
What happens when you don't do adrenaline activities?
Well, I also have ADHD, so I kind of get really spazzy.
Well, ADHD is about dopamine, not adrenaline.
Yeah, but it's moving. It's like that much adrenaline for me is calming.
Okay. But maybe that's because your body is addicted to your own stress hormones. Possible. And so when you have less adrenaline, then it feels different.
Possible.
I don't know. I'm just theorizing. I have a client who kind of looks like you. And in the last couple sessions we've unpacked a lot. She also does jujitsu and her son does Muay Thai. And we've unpacked a lot around how her system is primed to look for hits of adrenaline. Mm-hmm. And so she's having to kind of slow down and detox from the adrenaline almost in a way, because that has felt so good to her for so long. And so she's kind of going through this period of like, oh, it's boring, because she doesn't have this like constant adrenaline. Like, she got out of an unhealthy relationship. There was a lot of adrenaline there. There's a lot of adrenaline in her jujitsu. Like, she's like detoxing from adrenaline and realizing how much of her nervous system orients toward that and associates it with feeling good.
I love that you just said that, because a detox from adrenaline feels like something that can be done and then I can have it sporadically later.
Yeah. And see, I hate adrenaline. Like, there's people who are like adrenaline junkies, and I'm the total opposite of that. I'm like, I don't want to do anything that makes me have adrenaline, because adrenaline just feels like anxiety in my body.
Well, it almost might. Like, my body was, it was like, just stop. And it was really interesting, because in the ceremony, what I got shown was like just feel what it feels like to touch your neck and how much that like ripples through your entire body, and you've got grown men ripping chokes onto you, and what is that doing to your system, and to like really be aware of what that is doing, and what are you doing after that to get it to settle down. Because what I normally do is go home, have a shower, and go back to running my business.
Yeah.
So maybe it can be there,
good awareness.
So long as there is a calming of it, like it gets to be looked after as well.
Yeah. And what I often find happens with people, and this may or may not happen with you, so like, I'm not saying this in a prescriptive kind of way, but what happened for me anyway, for like so much of my journey, is this thing that my best friend, it's not her concept, but I never heard of it until she introduced it to me. And it's thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Mm-hmm. So like, my thesis, let's take healthy eating, for example. The thesis that I started out with is I will have perfect health and I'll be so healthy and I'll prevent cancer and diabetes and obesity and all this if I just eat perfectly and I don't eat inflammatory foods and I stay away from sugar and I take all these amazing supplements. Like that is what I'm going to need to be healthy, right? So I'm like kind of over here in an extreme, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I got out of the psych hospital and newsflash, in the psych hospital, I didn't get to bring all my special keto food with me. I didn't get to bring all my supplements with me. I got to wear scrubs and socks and hospital food and no supplements and take medication, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like without all of my precious healing gadgets and supplements and foods, and I didn't get worse.
Yeah.
So then I was like, if those things had been what I needed to be well, I would be well because I did them the best. I did them the best. So that began the swing over into my antithesis, which was for a couple of years, I went off the fucking deep end. I started eating whatever processed food. I was eating restaurant food. I wasn't totally like just buying like processed like snack cakes and like hot dogs and shit like that. But it was like more seed oils than I would normally eat, more restaurant food than I would normally eat. I started eating gluten again. I'd been gluten-free for forever. I started eating dairy again. I had been dairy-free for forever. So my thesis was over here. My antithesis swung all the way over here. And now I feel like I'm in what I would currently describe as a synthesis, which is kind of here in the middle. And so like same thing with the way that I work, same thing with like so many different things. I started out one way. I fucked around with that for a little while. I decided I was tired of it. I swung to the other way. I fucked around with that for a little while, realized that wasn't really working for me either. And then I found some like cozy synthesis place in the middle, And so maybe if you've been in this like adrenaline place for a long time, maybe you do need the experience of swinging all the way over here and having this like no adrenaline, slow existence for a while. But I bet you once your body tires of that, you're going to find something in the middle that feels really, really good for you.
That does seem true because I've been through that same thing with food and with all of the other things. You do the extreme, you do the other extreme, and then there's a middle. So I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. I did the same thing with pharmaceuticals. I was very anti-pharmaceutical for forever. Pharmaceutical companies are evil. Pharmaceutical companies are robbing us. They're like making us sick, to keep us in the healthcare system. I was anti-pharmaceuticals. Yeah. And then I swung over into the camp of like, now I'm on 3 different psych meds.
Yeah.
I'm on some controlled substances here.
Yeah.
And now I found this space in the middle where I make plant medicine. I make my own tinctures. I take vitamin D. I take vitamin C. I use herbs. Like I do all of that. And I also take a prescription antihistamine and I use bioidentical hormones and I take low dose naltrexone. And so like I found this middle space that isn't an extreme either way. And it's just like, this is what works together for me. I'm not saying everybody else needs to make that their middle space, but this is my middle space. Yeah. And I fully expect that at some point, what is currently my middle space will start to feel like an extreme. I'll swing the other way and then I'll find a middle again, but it'll be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it. I love that. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because I saw it on your Instagram, was your strip craft that you were doing.
Yeah.
Tell me about
sensual
that.
movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started Sensual Movement in January of 2023. I had followed this woman. Her handle is Lux ATL. ATL stands for Atlanta. So she's from Georgia. And I think I got introduced to her because she was part of a group that I was in during a time when I was undergoing an online cancellation from 2020 to 2021. Mm-hmm. And I was in this group with some other people who had undergone cancellations, and she was in it. And so we didn't really interact much in the group, and she ended up not staying for very long because she didn't have time. But I started following her from there. Mm-hmm. And she is a like pretty low key famous stripper in the South. And like, I think in like 2010 or 2011, she was voted Atlanta's best stripper, which is a big deal because Atlanta's huge and they've got a lot of strip clubs.
Yeah.
And so I started following her and I started watching her do pole and do dance and like dance in her high heels and like wear these slutty outfits. And the response in my body was so fascinating now that I look back. It was like, I simultaneously was like, ugh, why would anybody post videos of themselves doing that? But then at the same time, like I couldn't look away, you know? And I was like simultaneously like, oh my gosh, this is like making me so uncomfortable and squirmy. Like, oh, and then at the same time, I was like fucking turned on. Like, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much shame that she's even doing this and that she was even like putting this on the internet. And I feel shame that I'm watching it. And simultaneously, God, I wish I could do that. So like I was having all of these very mixed feelings about it. And so finally, because I practice what I preach, I was like, okay, I'm uncomfortable, or I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. I can be comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm going to put myself in a dance class with her and I'm going to submit to her as a teacher. And I'm going to make myself real fucking uncomfortable because I cannot deny that there is desire and pull and turn on and intrigue and interest and fascination. And I really want to learn to move my body that way.
Yeah.
So I did. I enrolled for my first year of her school, which is called the School of Stripcraft. And the first year, it was just sensual movement. So we were just doing like, she was teaching us how to do like hip circles and chest circles and like how to shake our ass and how to like do floor work on the floor and, you know, stuff like that. And then the second year, which was last year, I signed up. And last year was when we introduced pole. So there was one class a week that was sensual movement and then a second class in the week that was a pole class. Well, starting at the end of 2023, I started not feeling super good. I was really low energy, just fatigued. And so by April of 2024, it was taking me like 2 or 3 days to recover from a dance class.
Okay.
Like I was just dragging ass. And so I made the really, really difficult decision to drop out of dance class. And I ended up getting a bunch of blood work done. I found out that I needed some hormone support. My thyroid was in the toilet. I was insulin resistant. Like I needed, it made sense why I was so tired and why I wasn't recovering. So I decided to take the rest of the year off and just focus on just like helping myself come out of this like burnout. And so then this year she opened it up again, but it was invite only this time. So it wasn't just open to anybody on the internet to enroll. So I got invited and then I had to send in a video to apply to be. And so I was accepted again this year. But sensual movement for me it's such an interesting, weird thing that I do. And I'll tell you why it's weird, because I have no problems posting videos of myself dancing on the internet. Like, I don't even think twice about it. I don't care what judgment I get. Usually every time I post a sensual video, I lose some people. It's fine. I really don't care. I find it to be an excellent follower filtration system. Yeah. But on the flip side, it is something that absolutely terrifies me to be seen doing. I know that might sound like a contradiction because you're like, well, 98,000 people follow you, Lindsey. So like, what do you mean you don't have a problem posting it online? Because here's the deal. What I post online, I have total control over.
Yeah.
I get to edit out the parts where I fall, or I get to edit out the parts where I forget what I'm doing in the middle of it. I get to edit out the part where my leg is bent, or like I get to edit that shit out. So it's like, yeah, I wouldn't even call it vulnerability, actually. It's kind of scripted vulnerability. It's like I'm showing you this vulnerable thing that I do, but I'm only showing you the part that I'm comfortable with you seeing it, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I have a poll right here and I don't invite my husband to come watch me rehearse.
Interesting.
Like he's not like, hey babe, can I have a lap dance? Like, I'd be like, fuck off. Because I am really, because it is still something that being seen doing it live in real time in front of someone whose opinion I actually care about terrifies me. So me posting it on the internet is my like gradual way of expanding my window of tolerance to maybe one day let the people in my real life in to be able to see me do this. And if I mess up, it's okay. But sensual movement, so it's unlocked that for me. It's unlocked how like, oh, I'll show you this much, but I'm only going to show you the curated part, curated vulnerability. That's what I wanted to call it.
Yeah.
I'll show you the curated part, the part where I look really good and I look like I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to show you the parts of me like trying or learning a new skill and falling on my ass. So it gives me something to play with in terms of like widening my window of tolerance to being seen. But I absolutely love it. One of my favorite things to do is to film myself dancing, mistakes and all. And then I go back and I watch the videos of myself and I like really enjoy watching myself. So I think it's important that I enjoy seeing myself and that I can see myself first before I like let other people see it for real. But I love it. It has unlocked, I would say it's given me access to like this dark, slutty, feminine part. It's always been there. She's always been there, but I like didn't let her out of the cage for a really long time and increased my confidence. And it's good for my body and I can go as fast or as slow as I want. So I have the ability to like make it really gentle or make it really hard. So I like the flexibility that dance offers. It's just been amazing. And I don't have any plans on quitting anytime soon.
I love that so much. I think that most women have a dark, slutty side that they probably don't know exists.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We do.
Yeah.
We all have a dark, slutty side.
Yeah. I mean, I get to embody that at home in ways. And I think maybe going back to the jujitsu thing and what else can I do? Maybe this is the thing. Because like some gentle, like I danced for 15 years as a kid. So like dance is like, yeah, I could go dance, but I'm not going to go to some stupid jazz class. But like I could get on board with this. But I think I would do the same thing. No one's seeing shit until I'm amazing.
Yeah. And that's okay.
But I do that in other things as well. Like I hate people watching me learn something. I'm like, wait until I'm amazing, please. Like how it would be really cool if we could expand our tolerance for people to see us not be good at something, because it gives them permission to not be good at something.
Yeah. And that's why I have posted the videos, because like my videos compared to Lux or compared to like some of the other students in the class, like I don't suck, but like I have a lot to learn still. And I know that, you know, I'm better than I was when I started 2 years ago, but like I have a lot to learn still. And I think it is important that we post ourselves doing stuff imperfectly and that we show our process and that we humanize the learning of it and like not starting out and being perfect from the first try. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why I have posted the videos that I've posted, even though if you compare my videos to like other videos online, I look terrible. Yeah. But for me, it's like little increments of like, okay, this feels safe to post. I'm going to fuck around and find out with this. Like, or honestly, sometimes Hannah, I'll just be completely honest with you. When it's been a while and I start feeling my online space and I'm like, I can't really name it. It's just a feeling I get, but I start getting this vibe where I'm like, my Instagram account is starting to feel like a drag. I think there's too many people here. There's too many people. Like I can feel people lurking, but not engaging. I don't even know how to describe that. It's a vibe that I get. So then I'll be like, I know, I'll post something really raunchy and like, I'll post a dance video and then like it clears the space out and the energy of my account totally changes. Like I do that pretty often.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's a filtration system.
That's really cool. Thanks. How can we clear? I mean, I guess Instagram accounts would almost like become their own entity, wouldn't they?
I mean, I don't know how other people have a relationship with their Instagram account, but I am extremely energetically sensitive and I can sometimes literally feel people like pulling at my energy who follow me. And sometimes I get all my clients do it too. And I'm so grateful that my husband is a master Reiki practitioner because he clears and cleans my energetic field a lot. And the other day I was like, babe, I need some work. I just feel like I said, I feel physically good, but like emotionally, mentally, I'm fried. I feel like my thoughts are just in all different directions. I can't focus. Like, so he got me on the table and he started doing work and he was like, babe, your field is big and loud.
Yeah.
And I was like, it feels big and loud. And so like he did a bunch of work and he said just energetically, he could sense like certain clients that were kind of latched onto me. Like he was like, they're kind of like latched onto you, like they're milking your teats, you know, like they're milking you for all they can get out of you. And so he cleared a bunch of client energy from my field. There was some social media energy in my field. I'm so grateful to have a husband who's into that work, who understands it. And also because he's done so much energy work on me, he's extremely familiar with my energy field.
Mm-hmm.
So he can feel the second something is off with me and he knows how to like correct it. And I don't want to learn Reiki. So I'm just really, really grateful for him. But I do have to do a lot of energetic hygiene.
How amazing that he can do that for you.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm so thankful.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like I've covered all the things I wanted to cover. But if someone is listening and on their journey, what's one thing you would say to them right now if they're struggling right now?
Oh my gosh. You have more power than you think you do.
Oh my God, that is so the work. Actually, all of this is how can we just empower everyone?
Yeah, that's what came through. You have more power than you think you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your power is in your choice and in your agency. And a lot of people who are struggling actually don't realize that they're repressing their own agency.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are repressing their ability to choose something different.
Yeah.
So they actually do have power. They're just not embracing it and embodying it. And a lot changes when you realize that you have more power than you think you do.
Yeah, 100%. What are you doing right now? Where can people connect? What do you want them to connect with? What work are you doing?
Oh my gosh. Right now, my work is completely and totally focused on relational coaching. I am transitioning. I don't know if it's a transition. I've been doing relational coaching for a long time, even in my private one-on-one containers, but I have just experienced the power in my own relationships as well as in my clients when I've done relationship coaching of healing in relationship. And just like what you're experiencing with your new boyfriend, right? Like that's where all their triggers and all their shit gets poked is in those relationships. And so I have called myself a trauma and nervous system coach for ever since I started this work. I am now switching to calling myself a somatic relational coach. And so my offerings are going to be changing here pretty soon. I've been doing couples coaching for the last 6 months, which is why I'm like fully sure that this is what I want to move into. I wanted to like fuck around with couples for a little bit and just see if that's something that I would really enjoy. Mm-hmm. And I do really enjoy it a lot. But my dream clients right now, adult mother, adult daughter, I want to work with them in a container together. I would also love to work with adult mother and son, father and son, adult siblings, adult best friends. Like I want to work with any and all emotionally intimate adult relationships. And I'm really trying to get the message out there that you do not have to be in a romantic relationship to do relational healing work. You just have to be in a relationship with another person who's consenting to doing that work with you. And that can be a friend, your cousin, a sibling, your adult child. It can literally be like any adult. I only work with adults. I don't work with minors. Yeah. And my account is actually blocked to people under 18. So yeah, I'm writing a new group program for a relational group coaching program. I don't currently have any coaching spots open. My calendar has been like literally maxed out since November. I've never been so busy in my life. I'm about to raise my prices because I'm maxed out. And yeah, right now I'm just working on this new facet of my relational work. And so I've just been creating some content around that to kind of warm my audience up to like things really aren't shifting much. I still work with nervous systems with relational coaching. I still work with old patterns and adaptations and triggers. Like we work with all of it. I just do it in a way that because I'm so sensitive and because of I have this beautiful combination of complex PTSD and autism that makes me like so hypersensitive. I'm so sensitive to energy. And when I'm in my real relationships in my life, that hypervigilance is like my kryptonite. But when I'm in a coaching container, that hypervigilance is my superpower, because I can notice two people sitting side by side and one of them says something and I watch the other person's breathing change, or I watch their body language change, or I watch their eyebrow go up, and I can pause and be like, hey, I noticed this just happened when he said that. What's going on for you? And like, I'm learning, because I'm having conversations with ChatGPT about this, and I'm learning that that's not actually common in relational coaching, that like real-time catching of the shifts in someone's energy or body language or facial expression, and to be able to call it out in real time and bring awareness to it. Because most relational coaching is you go to the session, you talk about your problems, and the coach or the therapist gives you like, okay, the next time you guys try, communicate and you're in a conflict, try using your nonviolent communication tools. Or like, one of you name a need this week and a feeling. Like, it's things like that they take out of the session and then they practice. But what makes me so different is that I'm giving them corrective experiences in real time in sessions, because I'm noticing all these little subtle things, which are really the majority of our communication as humans. It's not the things we say. It's our little posture adjustments and breathing changes and facial expressions and our breath and like all that kind of stuff. And I notice those things. And so then we can pinpoint like where there's passive aggressiveness, or where someone's closing, or where someone's starting to get angry, or like whatever. And we work with it in real time, and we give them both an emotionally and somatically corrective experience. Like, I don't know if you can feel I don't know if you can feel my excitement about this.
I can. But I get it.
I'm fucking excited.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have been working with couples, but I am so ready to branch out of couples. And so that's why I'm creating this new relational group program, because I want to open it for all emotionally intimate adult relationships. Because you don't need to be having sex with the person you're healing with to heal. Like, you just don't. And in fact, it might feel safer for a lot of people to participate in platonic relational healing before they participate in relational healing with someone they're sexually active with, because that's a whole nother thing. But I do work with couples on that too. So I don't have anything new to offer right now. People can find me on Instagram. My handle is I am Lindsey Lockett. It's with an EY, not an AY. My website is lindseylockett.com. You can check out, I have an About Me page. I have a page with free offers, low cost offers. I have waiting lists if you're interested in doing couples coaching, or my group program, Feel Without Fear. I'm going to open a cohort this spring. If you're interested in that, I have wait lists you can join. My podcast is called Holistic Trauma Healing. You can find me pretty much everywhere. You can find me. I just don't have anything new that I'm currently actively marketing at the moment.
Beautiful. Because you're so amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Hannah.
Thank you so much. It was absolutely epic. That was one of my favorite ones I've done so far. You are incredible and a gift to the world, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for seeing me. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.